All right, guys, welcome to the IWCA show. We have a special episode today. We really wanted to talk to our safety experts. We got Stefan Bright, Michael Draper. They both have been conducting classes here on safety training, and safety is a very important part of the IWCA. So we really want to pick their brains and just kind of see where we're going in that direction in the IWCA, and what things that what we see on the horizon, but also things that we really need to change. So first off, why don't you guys just share a little bit of your experience, and both with IWCA, but also on your own when it comes to learning and teaching safety standards.
First, Stefan Bright. I'm the safety director. I've been the safety director for the IWCA for 3 decades now, and the passion behind me holding that position is what keeps me coming back every year. I love interfacing with the window cleaners from across the country and outside of the country and talking about safety. When I first joined the group, I was chairman of the Safety and Training Standards Committee, and it was a perfect fit for me. I really enjoyed putting together safety guidelines and our first safety program, and it just evolved into this American National Standards, and all the way up, to the programs we're offering today, safe practices for rope descent, and the OSHA 1910 course, which is a non-high-rise course. So we've got the full gamut of window cleaning covered when it comes to safety.
Nice. And Mike?
Yeah, Mike Draper. I'm a certified instructor for the IWCA, and so I've been working with the IWCA for a lot of years, but specifically over the last several years, working with Stefan very closely, trying to align our RDS safe practices with ANSI standards like the 459, certain rope access standards as well, to make sure that we're really providing the most safe that we can possibly be out into the industry. And of course, the 1910 as well, developing that and helping window cleaners understand it's not just about high-rise guys. It's really about any facet of work, and if there's a worker out there, then the employers have an obligation to protect those workers. And so, just helping with all of that.
Sure. So, what are some of the changes that you see? You mentioned the 1910 being developed since then, and also since there's been a real push to educate even the single owner operator in these types of safety standards. Has there been have you seen a positive change in the attitudes towards window cleaners, or that window cleaners have towards the safety standards?
I'll go first on that. Yes, I mean, the 1910 is for any window cleaner. Falls and falling objects, but mostly falls are our biggest enemy. And it's even a bigger enemy when you are a single owner operator, because a lot of those folks, even a small company with a couple employees, may not have, workers' comp insurance at the right limits or the right insurance. And one fall off a roof, can be devastating, both financially and physically. So what we're teaching in that course, helps them to avoid that big pitfall. And then, of course, when you take it up to the high-rise level, the guys on tops of buildings are working on rooftops. And we're actually starting to, I have a meeting later today with the solar power industry experts to talk about how we can better, work together, because solar panels, on buildings and house rooftops, another issue. Our people are cleaning them as well.
Yeah, so. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, and we spend a lot of time, really involved, in hours and hours and hours in standards, and what does OSHA say about this? What's the general industry say? And what's the ANSI standard? And all these things. But at the end of the day, it's not about those things. I mean, we try to make sure we're complying with those regulatory guidelines. But at the end of the day, and we try to really stress this in the classes, it doesn't really matter if you're an owner operator, if you're an owner with employees. At the end of the day, our goal, what we're trying to do, is get that worker home safely.
That's exactly
right. It's a huge impact on an owner operator, maybe even more so than somebody that has multiple employees, because if you have multiple employees, you just send another employee out to the job the next day, right? But if it's the owner operator that gets impacted by acting unsafe, that impacts his family, his livelihood, everything.
Yeah. So let's just say we hope that they survive it, right? So then, if there's hospital bills that they've got to pay now, so they've got more expenses, but then they also are not working, so they have no income. Their income has just been wiped out because they're in the hospital, or even if they're at home, they got to recuperate 2, 3, 6 weeks, however long it takes. So just some following some simple safety standards could help prevent that. Yeah, what a huge difference it can make in people's lives for sure. So what are some attitudes that you're seeing as the more people are coming and taking these classes that either you're trying to overcome or perhaps maybe you're trying to help them to see that they got it to be a little more serious towards the safety standards than what their current thinking is?
Well, I can start on this one. It's the same attitudes. It doesn't matter, which genre of safety you consider when you go and you try to move thinking to, what may not be the worst case scenario. Maybe they're doing it and going home, but there's a much safer way to do it or a better way to do it. Whenever you're moving in that direction, the obstinance is always going to be longevity in the industry, right?
Yeah.
Well, I've been doing this for 30 years this way and nothing's happened.
For sure.
So you fight that mentality. And also, just even with rope descent changes and equipment changes, technology changes. And so those moves from something that somebody's been doing and, quite honestly, maybe have been doing fine. They haven't had any problems to something that you're perceiving or we're saying is a safer practice. There's pushback. There's pushback.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. And so with some of our things, helmets is a big push. We're really thinking, and we know that at height work, really, helmets should be on. That's a big move. That's a pushback in the industry. But really, just kind of educating, showing the whys, showing this. When things start making sense and clicking, we're starting to see some big movements.
Yeah, absolutely. Very good. So with the new IWCA RDS standards, and you guys are starting to do the training classes for that. You had some here today, or this convention. So with the like you said, you're adding different things, the helmets, the extra rope, those types of changes. What's the hope that you have towards being able to educate as many people as possible? Because obviously this is just brand new. It's just starting. You've got companies who've been doing things a certain way for a while. So what is your 4-year goal, 5-year goal? How many do you want to be able to reach, and how do you guys plan on getting that message out?
Yep, I got that. So we actually started 2 years ago with this, and it took probably about 1.5 years maybe to put it together. And Mike had said this earlier. What we're really trying to do is harmonize the rope industry. There's other people that use ropes out there. Believe it or not, the window cleaners are probably the biggest users of it because we keep going back and back and back to the same buildings, whereas the specialists in the rope world don't. And they may go to a building one time, and they're probably doing many other things off rope that aren't even on buildings. So if we can just harmonize, the way and the techniques and the way we use it, that's our long-term goal, and it's happening already as we started. So 2 years ago, we kicked it off, and COVID affected everything. So we got off to a slow start, but as of yesterday, it's picked up a lot of speed. Or Monday, I mean. But long term, the idea is to get everyone at least authorized, by the IWCA, or at least the program. The IWCA has the program right now, but an authorized rope descent system operator. That's our upfront goal. And then ultimately, after you're authorized, after about 1 year of working on rope, you can reach the level of certified, which is the upper tier and the highest level you can go. It's really what would enable a person to be classified as competent by their employer. And that's the ultimate goal, is we want competent people, managing and overseeing sites where ropes get used.
Yeah, very good. Now with the training here, I know the IWCA is really trying to be as strict as they can, right, in the training. So tell us a little bit about how many people enter, how many people were able to be certified when they wanted to get their certification this year.
I can just speak to the higher level of this now, because I'm not really sure the numbers exactly that happened on Monday, but absolutely. I mean, it is not. We've changed the program so far as it used to be that you may even go online and you'd get a certification, or you'd come to a class, get a certification. That would be a good for 1 year. And really, with this new program, that's gone away. So the biggest difference is there has to be an evaluation now, and not everybody passes the evaluation at the time. And so that's that's a challenge, because that's different than people are used to. But the reality is that when we teach these safe practices, we want to evaluate and see that you're operating under these safe practices.
Yeah.
And for that reason, there will be some that don't pass the initial class. They may have to come back and do it again.
Yeah.
I'll let Stefan speak to the numbers this week.
Yeah, and I didn't really answer all your questions too. So part of our plan as well, I mean, going back even to the non-high-rise topic that we were talking about, and what the pushback is. And Mike will agree to this. The biggest pushback is really based on the dollar sign. If you tell someone they got to change what they're doing, that can happen over time. But when it costs money, everyone says, "Ooh, no," and that's what we both insist on. The S in safety is not the dollar sign. Right? So that's that. But as we look to expand our efforts, IWCA is bringing on more certified instructors. We have 2 in training right now, and are up for approval at our board meeting on Friday, which means, those guys can go out and deliver this program and then do the evaluation. And that's our plan, to bring it to the masses. Mike's been a certified instructor for a couple years. He's one, and we have another one as well. So, the more we increase those, the more available the program becomes, and the less the cost of sending people here or that to go through the process. So it's going to increase. So anyway, on Monday we had 97 people come to the classroom training, which was a really good number, and about 65 of those this was their first time. So
wow.
That was a really good number to hear. And then 32 of them we took to get evaluated. And the evaluation is, prove to us the hands-on part of this, that you know how to tie, the 3 knots that we recommend, that you know how to put your equipment on and make sure it fits properly, and then how to go over the side. We call that negotiating the edge. That's where it all takes place on ropes. Once you leave the safety of a working surface and go into suspension. And then what happens if something goes wrong while you're suspended, which we call self-rescue. So we went through that. It took quite a while. There was 4 of us, doing the evaluations. And out of those 32, 27 were successful.
Wow.
So a few did not make it because they did something wrong. And, or we had to tell them, and we felt that, hey, if we got to tell you, then you can't do it by yourself. So, it is a self-operated system, and you're in charge of it. So that's what we're trying to make sure happens.
Yeah, well, I mean, it makes sense. If you're going to say someone is certified, right, and then you got to be able to do it without someone holding your hand through the process.
Exactly.
And that's just part of the learning process. So just because you didn't pass it this time doesn't mean you won't pass it the next time. Now, I know there was several who were not able to go. Was that just a time circumstance, or was there like only a certain amount of spots?
It was a little bit loose in that regard. We kind of had to filter it out just because, based on experience. Because what happens, sometimes people who have never even been on a rope want to try.
Got it.
And that just doesn't work. We're not here to train you how to do it. We want people that know how to do it
That
to
makes
do
sense.
it better. And that's what our evaluations are.
Yeah.
And especially at the convention, that's not going to be the time and place for a how-to class,
Sure,
right?
sure.
If you want a how-to, then maybe that's something that we do on a private, piece where we come out and we actually work with you in that. But convention, it's going to be really hard. There's only so much time in the day, and we just don't have. You just can't run through. You can't do hands-on with 90 people. It just doesn't work.
If you're training, someone brand new, it's probably a 3-day process. And like Mike said, we just don't have that kind of time.
Sure, of course. Yeah, like I said, at a convention. Very good. Now, they also had a Spanish language course with RDS. So why is that so important to push that aspect? Because we know Jorge's been working hard. He does a really great job with it. So tell us a little bit about the IWCA's effort to outreach to the Spanish-speaking population.
Yeah, this is big, and we're really, I'm excited about it because it's been, as with all of this, first you get your English kind of lined out, and then you're trying to, back into the Spanish courses. And what was just really cool to see, and what necessitates this, first of all, is the fact that it's really hard to say that a person has received safety training if they really haven't received it in their language, right? And unfortunately, it gets messed around a little bit, and we do best we can with certain things. Sometimes there's an interpreter, or sometimes this, but there's nothing better than for them to receive it actually in their heart language from somebody that speaks their heart language, right?
Yes.
And so this year, I mean, we've been doing it the last couple of years. We've had opportunities, but this year it just really had traction.
Yeah.
So there were a number in the RDS class, and then also the OSHA 1910. Both of them ran simultaneous English and Spanish. And it was just a really beautiful thing to see. So the efforts that we've made over the last several years, they're coming to fruition.
Yeah.
And I think that it'll just continue to get larger and better on that front.
Now, the last IWCA convention I went to prior to Orlando was the Savannah one, because I didn't come during the COVID time. But I remember that was the start. They had a little group of Spanish speakers, and Jorge was leading the conversation. And I remember thinking, man, that's going to be something. And then when I went there to do some video recording of the classes, and I opened the door to the Spanish language RDS class, I don't think it was like 30 people in there. Yeah. And I thought that is so awesome, because here's this little group, at the beginning, it was just maybe 10 people who were gathered, trying to make some plans, and to see where it's come in just a few short years. That's really awesome. I mean, there's a lot of Spanish speakers who are doing RDS.
Absolutely.
And they're going to do whether they get the training or not, right? That's their work.
I venture to say probably in subsequent years after this one, because people go home, they talk about it too. I'm going to venture to say, even at next year's convention, I'll bet you're going to see the classes rival each other as far as attendees.
Yeah.
I bet you will. So, and that's awesome. It's awesome to see.
Yeah, very good.
And all our materials too have been translated, so it doesn't go away when we leave town. So, and we know a lot of people are taking advantage of that internally. So.
Yeah, very cool. Well, anything else safety related? You guys really want to get the message out to help IWCA members know that what you guys are doing, what you want to promote, or what's ahead on the horizon?
I think just we have the basis for the program at this point. We've put it out there. It's been scrutinized, evaluated by other people. We feel we're completely in line at this point with regardless, like Stefan said, any across any rope discipline, right? They're really not going to look at what we're doing and say that's wrong or that's this. So. But it's just to continue to get it out there. That's the hard part. The easy part really is writing the curriculum, even though it's been 3 years, doing it. That's really the easy part. Now going out and getting the masses, converted over and working on this. And then not only just doing that, but also emphasizing the ongoing of that. Because it's one thing to come in and prove a skill set in a classroom or even on a hands-on evaluation, but it's another thing to keep that going out on the job site.
Sure.
So that will take time. There's no doubt about that. But we're both, and others as well, are committed to making sure that comes to fruition.
Yeah, the IWCA is definitely committed to it, and there are a lot of people who are jumping on board to help us do that. As trainers, we both know when you're in a setting like this and you're presenting the program, you're the answer person, right? And you're dumping a lot of information out there. In about 4 days, just about everybody in the class forgets half of it, right? So Mike's point about retraining and coming back and staying at it is so important these days. And OSHA looks at that. I mean, if there's ever an incident, they want to see proof of training. I mean, that's the first question they ask. And if it's over a year old, they kind of discount it right away. Yeah, because that's just too long of a time, and especially in our occupation, every building is different, and that building can change, between spring and fall cleanings as well. So,
well, I think I should get an automatic OSHA certification every year, because he uses a picture of me in his class, and he still uses. I had people showing me the picture at the convention today. So I think that means I just automatically get certified just every time he shows the picture.
I'll let you two.
Well, Stefan, thank you so much, Mike.
Yeah, always a pleasure.
We really appreciate your hard work, because we know you're not just doing it because this is a position or it's for the notoriety. You guys are doing it because it's your passion, and we really appreciate your hard work. And if you guys get a chance to get down here, get certified, please do so. But whether you do or not, look at all the tools that the IWC has on their website for safety. And we just want you guys to get home at the end of the day. So thank you guys, and hope you guys enjoy the rest of the convention.
Thank you.
All right, that was awesome. Thank you.
Cool.